We're doing it live. Okay. We're there? Sweet. I got the expensive camera working again. So we have a monkey cam back. It's gotten really grainy though since I fixed it. I managed to also make the monkey cam, which is now my main cam, a little more rich in color. So this blue is popping today, baby. And you should get this hot lady, hot wahini on my back. Okay. So, welcome. It's Wednesday, hump day. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. Houston After Dark. Here we are. We're rocking and rolling. And the monkey's on the floor, so he's not on cam anymore. But what a shitty day. At least for me. We learned that Ryan Cohen pulled the ripcord because the board at Bed Bath & Beyond sucks. They basically did everything that Jim Cramer told them to do, and they just destroyed their company. They straight up did. They are shutting down stores, closing brands, offering more stock for sale. It was a big, giant, dumb decision on their part. They're going to be stuck in a debt spiral now. They're going to close 10% of their stores. They're going to see the revenues drop, and they'll report like, oh, revenues dropped. They're not going to make any more money off of it. They're doing exactly what Kmart and Sears, Sharper Image, Toys R Us, what all those companies do when they're going to die. And they take out loans. They're going to give themselves huge bonuses, and they're just going to milk that cow until it's dry and dead. What they could have done was they could have sold a controlling interest in Bye Bye Baby to Ryan Cohen and taken $1 or $2 billion in cash, which would have they've been set for a couple of years on that. Then offered to do a share split with Baby as a dividend for all their shareholders. That would have gotten people stoked. They would have been in line for everything. Would have paid off a whole bunch of their debt. They would have been just solid. But they went the Jim Cramer route, and Bed Bath & Beyond is... they're done. Should have sold my calls yesterday. Oh well. They might get a little pop from T13 on Friday, but as far as being a recoverable company, no. They're toast. They're done. Someone will probably pick up Bye Bye Baby for pennies when they do go into bankruptcy. They could have made a lot more with Ryan Cohen now than they will in the future. Okay, so oh yeah, and Ape went on the Thresholds list, so that's on the Thresholds list now, and they're gonna have to do lots of buying. 13 days for everything that's traded, basically. That means they're having lots of naked shorts and naked sales, and stuff is not going through the way it should. One sec. Let me just do this. All right, there we go. Okay. Off. Daytime one off. Everything else going just fine. There we go. Okay, solid. Whew. Also in the news, Donald Trump confessed to stealing sensitive documents. I can't believe the dude gets triggered by the weirdest things. So the FBI pulls out all these top secret documents, and to catalog what has been taken, they lay them out with a scale and an evidence card, and they take a picture, and that's what gets filed. And Trump was like, I wasn't messy about them at all. I put them in a box. I wasn't a slob. And it's like, buddy, you told them you didn't have any of those, and now you just admitted that you put them in a box when you weren't supposed to have any. You broke the law. And if a foreigner got their hands on any of those, you might be facing the death penalty, because that's what the Rosenbergs got the electric chair for. So, yeah, his lawyers have to be like, oh my gosh, oh, no, he'd never pay us. He just defeats our entire argument. Ah! Yeah, so. Oops. Okay. Well, that's my news off the top. It's late at night, so I've got some Euros waking up, got some Australians getting home from work, and got the rest of you night owls. So, what's on your mind? So, Daniel Motes, Houston, now that BBBY is a bust, are you going to try and go in on Revlon? Also, happy birthday. I've got Revlon. I did sell what garbage I had left of Bed Bath & Beyond calls, and I put those into some GME calls because the implied volatility has dropped quite a bit, and they came down in price. So I did some of those. I was debating do a short play with AMC calls because Max Payne's like $13 and it's at $9 right now. But I don't know if it's going to have a $4 run between now and Friday at close. I don't know. I went a little longer. I went out to the end of October for GME calls. I'm just going to sit and twiddle my thumbs and wait. Iggy Limon gave coordinates, but then I see below it gave coordinates, says the wrong coordinates. Okay, so let's do the right coordinates for Iggy. And see what we get. Boom. We're flying. We are in California. We are in, it looks like a dry lake bed. We're in Borax. Where are we? Yeah. Cirrus Valley. Cirrus Lake. I think this is where they get borax from, if I remember correctly. And once a year, they do a giant explosion here, and they blow up the salt. There's like a salt crust on basically what's a lake that's under there. There's this thick salt crust. All these weird evaporate crystals form on the crust. So once a year, they go out and they blow this sucker up and fire a whole bunch of crystals in the air, and everyone runs around the desert finding kind of rare evaporate crystals. I think where's the, I can't remember which end the mine is in. This might be where the facility is that, Cirrus Valley, where is, I think these are evaporate ponds for particular things. Where's the, shoot, it's like a processing plant somewhere around here. This might actually be it. This is probably it. Yeah. So yeah, it's where all the borax comes from that you, and other weird evaporates that are using some like rare earths and things. It's hot as hell out here. Absolutely just a scorcher in this area. So we are Indian Wells, Ridgecrest. Yeah, this is just hot. Not too far from Death Valley. Furnace Creek. Yeah, Death Valley's on two valleys over. But cool stuff. Yeah. All right. Guitar stuff. Good evening, Houston. See you in an hour. IV is getting really cheap on GME calls. That's what I had. With all the extra shares that GME can now sell during a squeeze, doesn't it change our price targets? GME has to get permission to sell those, though. They have permission to do a split, but they didn't have permission to sell any of the authorized shares they have. So they have to seek out permission from us to do that. I don't think they have permission. I think they sold all the ones they have permission for. Hey, Houston. From also Daniel. If you wanted to buy a house, when would you start seriously looking, and where would you want to move? I either look where I'm living, or I would look somewhere far away. But my guess is that between probably next winter and the next 2 years, house prices are going to come way down. So, if you're looking at auctions, soon people are going to run out of cash, and they're going to have the cash to play with auctions, so you can buy stuff at auction. Sorry, I have like a piece of granola bar stuck in my teeth and won't get out. Look at the auction sites that I show you guys, like Bid for Assets, Auction.com. There'll be like local auction sites that might have stuff, but also check the back of your local newspaper in the classified sections. You'll have announcements that are in there that are like these long kind of weird looking classifieds, and that was a dog hair. Crying out loud, man. Big dog. What is wrong with you? And you have these weird long ads that'll be like, special announcement, there's going to be a piece of property at this weird lot description that's going to be for sale at 9 a.m. on the courthouse steps tomorrow. Must have cashier's check or cash payable at time of win, things like that. And you can find those things. But if you're looking at a house, like go through a realtor and things like that, it might be 6 months. From about 6 months from now to about 2 years from now will be the time that the market just is in the bottom. Because people are going to run out of money in a hurry for what's coming. P. Kumar, Houston, with my understanding, T+0 means trade settlement should be done on the same day. If so, how Ape is still being shorted? Why not covered every day? I think with Ape, the brokers generated a bunch of naked shares in people's accounts. They went, crap, we don't have them, so I'm putting nakeds in here, and those synthetics are the T+90s that we are waiting to be covered. People then sold those, and synthetics got delivered, and brokers went, shit, now there's a bunch of synthetics passing around. And my guess is that the market makers also, don't care, and hedge funds are like, well, might as well see what kind of $1,000 fine we're going to get for trying to short these things, and that's why Ape is probably on the thresholds list. And he got to the thresholds list in a hurry, because if we aren't selling and apes are moving, who's selling? Right? This is the first T0 security that or stock that DTCC has issued. So this one is testing the system right now, and the system isn't holding up very well with it. But that means in 13 days there's gonna be a bunch of forced buying of Ape. So get it while it's hot, if you can. Cheshirek. Houston, Ape on threshold list. Is this significant? I think so. By the way, Big Dog, so cute. Big Dog, you hear that? Big floor monster? Like, just minutes before we came on, the coyotes were making noise. The dogs were like, let us at them. So I had to let them outside, and Big Dog ruined it. Monkey is a stealth killer. She just silently runs through the bushes and just murders things. And Big Dog is like, bork, a bork, bork, the entire time, and the coyotes scattered. So they didn't get to mess up any coyotes this time around. I told him to be quiet, but he just gets so excited that he has to make noise, and then he starts yelling at a tree for some reason because he thinks a coyote went up a tree, but that's not how it works. He's just not that bright. Okay. All right. Darren, Houston, where do you see BBBY going from here? You might get some pop from it being on thresholds list in the T13, but as a short squeeze play, it has petered. You might get like little waves here and there, but they basically just took the hearts of all the retail investors and went, Karimos, and that was it. They're not going to have anyone's like, woo, Bed Bath & Beyond behind them anymore. They're done. The BCG guys probably won out on that. James Hebb, Houston, Citadel's team of psychologists have been working overtime the past couple weeks, looking at making a big buy while everyone is so sad. Yeah, probably. I mean, getting PSYOP people is cheaper than covering what you owe, the $70 billion in securities you haven't delivered that you owe. So, yeah. I mean, they'll do everything except honor the things they sold. They'll never do that. But I think you're right there, James. They definitely have the PSYOPs people working overtime. I mean, I felt like I should have been just crawled under a blanket today, but it's 90 degrees, so it's just too hot to sit under a blanket and mope all day. So I sat downstairs and moped in the darkness. Tons of fun. Thoughts on Bank of America now offering 0 down payment, 0 closing cost mortgages to select individuals. 2008 again? Yeah. Those are going to be adjustable rate mortgages. They are going to dump properties that they can't sell on unsuspecting people for more money than they're worth. So, get it. All right? I mean, yeah. My guess is Bank of America will sell these mortgages, package them up into some sort of derivative, and then stick them on the market as a toxic, doomed to fail commodity. In the process, as that gets bounced around and sold all over the place, and the mortgages trade hands, the promissory notes go all over the place, they'll probably lose everyone's paperwork, and especially if Bank of America goes under, then you might have a house that you just paid 2 years of mortgage on, and then they can't find you a promissory note, and then the court just gives you your house. They go, well, here's a new deed, it's yours. So, I mean, worth a gamble? If you want a house at cheap 2-year interest rate before it resets, something that's absolutely astronomical. But then again, in 2 years, if it's on a adjustable rate mortgage, it is tied to whatever the going mortgage rate is. So in 2 years, after they've done all these increases in interest rates, they might have to collapse the interest rate again to spur investment. So by the time it resets, you might have a cheap interest rate again. Because right now, if you're on a adjustable rate mortgage and there's 720,000 Canadian mortgages that are all about to reset to really terrible interest rates, so the Canadian market's going to get really weird here in a bit. And then the Australians, who we'll have popping up here momentarily, if they aren't in here already, they can tell you that they have all these weird adjustable rate mortgages and don't have fixed rate mortgages for some reason, which is just a silly way of doing it. But Australia is about to get bonkers also. And then, you have everyone in Europe is about to starve or freeze to death. So, there's that. Welcome to the future. Make sure you bring your own bandolier of shotgun shells. Okay. Carlos Rayo says Jackson Hunter came out with a video saying Ape was on threshold list. Yep. It was found today on the threshold list. It was day 1 on the threshold list. Sad Boy Incorporated Houston. Thoughts on the indomitable human spirit overcoming the cold, heartless nature of the universe. Also, happy Wednesday. The human spirit can overcome all sorts of things. It can also succumb to lots of things. The universe is going to be a rough one for the next couple of years. So, tighten your belts, buckle up, because, the doom that's coming out of newspapers in the UK, the announcement of just insane energy inflation, the cost of energy are going to get to the point where people just aren't going to be able to afford to stay warm and alive. And I think some of the European countries, Central European countries especially, are going to have to change how they fund their electric grids. They're going to have to do something. They have to print money. They're going to do something that's going to probably lead to more inflation in general, but cover the costs of their citizens, because they're going to freeze to death in the winter. You can't live in North Central Europe and not have a source of heat. The British newspapers are talking about, the articles like, hey, you can eat spoiled and molding food. It's fine. We should let pensioners light their books on fire so they can stay warm this winter. That is Depression era can-do spirit. So, I think we're going to have some indomitable human spirit overcoming the cold, heartless nature of the universe here coming up. That's for sure. That's for sure. Prontal, what drives the price and difference in... sorry, can't read. Dyslexia hitting me. What drives the difference in price of precious gems? Is it just rarity or specific characteristics? Marketing is huge. Rarity is part of it. characteristics are another part. When looking at a specific gem itself, they talk about the 3 C's, carat, clarity, color. But there are certain gems that have great marketing. I call them big 4. Diamonds, rubies, sapphires, emeralds. Those are your big 4. Next tier down are like your opals, spinels, other beryls are related to emeralds. They're like aquamarine or morganite, stuff like that. You get a couple of outliers that had great marketing. Tanzanites, people like those. They got a cool blue color to them, kind of like the shirt. They're like that color. And then there's like super rare collectible gems that people have never really heard of. Bixbyte, red emeralds, one of the rarest gemstones on Earth. Jeremjavite, this weird, crazy blue gray stone from Namibia. Serendibite, a super rare stone that's found, I think, only in Sri Lanka and in Burma, Myanmar. Then you've got, ones that are culturally specific. Jadeite is very, very popular in Asian and South Asian cultures, and so there's certain things to look for in those, like how green is it, how translucent is it, so on. But for the most part, it has to do with marketing. Like diamonds aren't that rare. The De Beers cartel did get crushed, but there is still an oligarchy in control of diamonds, and they want to limit the marketing of them, because if people realize how common they are, they wouldn't buy them. But a problem is that diamonds are used for engagement rings. People aren't getting married anymore because they can't afford it. So the sale of diamonds are going down, and jewelry in general is dropping. And so if we want to save the jewelry market, we have to make living more affordable so people can spend on things like diamond rings and whatnot. But like in Australia, the Argyle mine was the biggest diamond mine in the world. Let's see here. Argyle, Australia. Yeah, that's where we want to go. I got a new mount for my camera that hopefully can mount to my desk hutch here, and I don't have to look around this stupid tripod anymore. And I need to get that in there. That is not. That is not the Argyle mine. That is Argyle in Western Australia, which is not at all Argyle mine. I want the mine. Argyle diamond mine. There we go. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. Other side of the continent. So this is the Argyle diamond mine. Give me some pixels? Want to give some pixels? You want to give me some pixels for that? You want to give me some pixels for that? You want? Nope. Okay. I think it just crapped out on me. 1, 2, 3, go. 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 Open. Go. 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 Come on. Do it. Go. There we go. Try this again. Argyle diamond mine. There we go. Lake Argyle, Western Australia. So this is a lamperite diamond lode. Lamperite is among the rarest volcanic rock formations in the world. The Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas is a lamperite lode. But this produces 35 million carats of diamonds every year. Most of the pink diamonds and almost all of the red diamonds come from this mine, but then everything else is kind of a poop brown color. When they were able to break away from De Beers and open the sucker up, they realized, oh crap, we aren't going to make any money off of all these brown diamonds because those just go into drill bits and sandpaper and stuff. So they went on this marketing campaign in the early 2000s where they relabeled all of these super common poop brown diamonds, kind of bland beige diamonds, started calling them cognac, champagne, chocolate diamonds. And they won this huge advertising campaign. I mean, the mine in Australia itself, they started paying famous Hollywood stars to go to events covered in these chocolate diamonds and champagne diamonds and stuff. And then they would have like Vogue and People magazine write about, oh, you know, Cameron Diaz was at the red carpet event in her special Australian chocolate diamond necklace. And people went, oh my. And so all of a sudden the price of chocolate diamonds went from, or I should say just brown diamonds, went from $0 to like $6,000 a carat. Based entirely upon like a 4-year marketing campaign by the Australians. And it's pretty remarkable. Let's see if we can find some of the old advertising campaigns. Images. Here we go. Okay. So, I'm going to turn on this. Which means I gotta go there. Gotta go chocolate diamonds. Go there. And turn Google Earth. Okay, so these are some of the chocolate diamond ads that started coming out in the early 2000s. So 20th anniversary of chocolate diamonds. There we go. So they did not exist as a gemstone people wanted to wear because they were just considered just garbage, common crud 20 years ago. But literally now they have like a 20th anniversary of chocolate diamonds appearing. They've always been around. They're just they were in people's drill bits. So do we have like Hollywood stars in chocolate diamond? There we go. Here is Rihanna wearing a $130,000 chocolate diamond necklace to the Grammys. Right? So she was probably lent this by Levion. Yeah, Levion Jewelry. That's the one celebrating the 20 years. So limited supply. Chocolate diamond rarity. They're not limited. They're fucking everywhere. There's nothing rare about them. Nothing rare at all. They are the most common diamond you will find. They were all put into industrial use prior to this ad campaign. It looks like Levion. This must be the Australian company that's marketing all of them, because there's champagne, cognac, so on. Let's see if there's a champagne ad. I can't spell champagne to save my life. Yeah, champagne diamonds, same thing. These are all stuff that they have like no fire to them whatsoever. They're really dull, not much luster, but they will sell them to you for a lot of money, claiming that they're rare. They're not. The C1 to C8 range, this was all garbage 20 years ago. They would just throw away or turn into drill bits. And now they've somehow done marketing to make them desirable to people. And it's like some of the chocolate ones, if done right with gold, they can look kind of cool. But like these suckers, there's no luster in these diamonds. There's nothing that, no color pop, nothing. They aren't that cool. But the red diamonds, red and pink diamonds, Argyle red diamonds. These suckers, this is the shit. These guys, looking at, for pink diamond, $1 million a carat. For red diamond, $5 million a carat. These are super rare. 22 carats a year in red or pink are found at the Argyle mines. Out of the 35 million carats of diamonds that are found at the Argyle mine, 22 carats are red or pink. And so those are actually rare. Those are super rare. They usually do an auction once a year for red and pink diamonds from the mine, and they sell for $5 million a carat for the red ones. So this 2 carat one probably sold for like $20 million bucks. Because once you get above a carat, then it's kind of logarithmic for the value. I did include, when I did my treasure hunt, there was a 0.22 carat red diamond in that was worth probably 20 grand. So there you go. But yeah, these things are these are the rare ones, red and pink, super rare. Okay, so where was I going with that? I don't quite remember. You're asking about how they hold value. For you, the average person buying, like, go to Fred Meyer Jewelers or Kay, and you buy a ring for your wife or whatever, what you pay for that ring and what you can get for it at when you pawn it or have to sell it or whatever is a huge difference. They'll sell it to you for $10,000. They'll buy it from you for like $1,000. You're gonna get screwed. But if you're in high-end jewelry, you're getting the red diamonds, you're getting the huge rubies and the fancy, Cartier, whatever. those things have a different value than the average stuff you get at the jewelry store. Those things have an auction value, and that is because they're used for money laundering, tax avoidance, wealth storage. So it's like the fine art market. If you have a lineage for one of these items, it sold at Christie's auction house for $600,000 in 2007, then you know that it's probably going to appreciate 15% a year until it goes to auction again. So it might sell for $2 million 15 years later. And then a person who buys that might hold on to it for a while as a way of storing wealth, and then they move countries, they got to pay off a gambling debt here or whatever. It'll end up at auction house again. And because last time it sold in 2022 for $2 million, and now in 2035, it's a rare event to own this fine piece of jewelry. It might sell for $5 million, and so on. The value that gets tied into those is different, and it's like a different animal entirely. If you can get a piece of jewelry sold at Christie's, it suddenly becomes, it's like an artist you never heard of. Someone in the art field, which is a weird, scammy market anyway. They just, they decided to put up a piece of art at Sotheby's auction, or Bonham's or something, and they have their buddy in the audience with a paddle, and they're going to bid up to $1 million on this piece of art no one's ever heard of. All of a sudden, this unheard of artist's art sold for $1 million. Now everybody there is going to be like, where can I get this artist's work? And there's going to be like a fight for it. They're going to look everywhere for it. All of a sudden, the price of this random artist's work will just shoots through the roof because one painting sold for $1 million. And now it's going to be the hot thing. Everyone's going to want their galleries, and it's a total scam. And then people buy it. They turn their living room into a non-profit art museum, and then they donate their painting or lend it to their living room, get a huge tax write-off as a donation to a nonprofit. No one else is allowed to come into the living room and see it, but they've got their own private museum with the painting they bought for $1 million. And then 10 years, 15 years down the road, when the artist is blown up, that painting's worth $20 million, they can sell it for a huge profit if they want. And they got $1 million a year of tax write-off the entire time. It is scam, baby. It's rich people's zone. And hopefully, we'll all be there soon, pulling those scams just like everybody else. Okay. Just in my head, living in constant state of awareness of how effed things are. Do you want to have kids someday? I mean, I've got like 500 sperm donor babies. There are Houston lineage out there somewhere. But my own, like to raise, have my own, not really. I figure like if I ever raise kids, I don't know. I've got the means and the time and the energy to do it. I'll probably just, adopt some war refugee. Someone who's trying to make a better life for themselves and escape something horrible, and give them a comfortable place to live and food and shelter, and give them an opportunity that their long gone parents may have wanted for them but couldn't provide. I don't need to like have more of my own, I guess. Yeah. Okay. I did let's see, in the updated chat, now he sounds like the people through History with 30 Wives. I did come up with an idea for a TV show, and my agent hated it, but I told it to one of the guys that when I was at Banff, and he was like, I love it. I call it Outgangusing the Con. It's sort of like, you remember Dave Attell's show Up All Night? It used to be on Comedy Central back in the day, and he would perform a stand-up comedy performance in some city, and then finish at like midnight. And then he would go and see what the nightlife was in Boise, Idaho, or Des Moines, Iowa. And he would wander around, like, see what people are up. Who's up this time of night? And what are they doing? And he'd talk with them and, like, check them out. Oh, it's the guys at the trash facility. Or it's the people that are doing late-night pizza delivery or whatever. And so it's kind of like a tourist show, seeing what cities are like at night. I want to do something similar, where I travel around the world, and I go to sperm banks. And I make a deposit, and they give me cash. And I have to figure out what I can do in that city for whatever money they give me. And the whole goal of the show is to, like 1,000 years from now, have more progeny than Genghis Khan. So like, what can I do for $40 in Prague? Oh, let's find out. My agent was like, absolutely not. And the production guys that told it, he was like, this is amazing. So, oh well. I digress. Jason Blackwell, one night Houston had a second intro and a second wrong intro. It was glorious. Oh, dude, I remember that. It was bring up old war wounds there. Sabo Incorporated, I got inside that oil is crashing in the real, but staying up on paper, settled for law school in a year or two. What was that? Oh, Sad Boy's asking, Andrew's asking if you're working in the oil field. All right, going to law school. Perfect. Oil's going to do weird stuff here, because the last time we had a crash like this, oil just fell off a cliff, which means metamaterial, MMTLP has to sell that oil field like now. Because when oil falls off a cliff, none of it's profitable, and it goes back to being worth pennies again. So, come on, MMTLP. Get the S1 approved. Do whatever you need to do. Get that thing sold. I want my cha-ching. Okay. Just in my head, what's the most extreme cold and extreme heat you've ever been in? Extreme cold. It doesn't get super cold here in Washington. Skiing in Montana one year, I got to minus 30, and my body was not ready for that. I have a toe now that when it gets cold outside is like, I'm going to fall off. It just acts like that now because of how cold it was skiing at Bridger. Hot was last summer, hitting 120. It did it here, and it did it while I was in Nevada, and I buried the truck and a bunch of sand, had to dig it out for like 5 hours in 116 degree heat plus, and that was pretty miserable. Monkey Butt, she was not happy. She drank like 5 gallons of water and just looked at me like, you son of a bitch, you fucking asshole, the entire time. I apologize, Monkey. I made it up to you. It's cool in here now. That was pretty brutal. But yeah, like 120 is the hottest I've been in. I'm not sure like what the effective temperature was in either place. Pretty dry. I remember one time it was about 115, 120 when I was like 17, and my sister was reporting for duty in Charleston. So we took this road trip. I took this road trip with her across the country, and we went through like Joshua Tree and through Palm Springs and there. And there was a point somewhere in Joshua Tree that I just taken a photography class, so I want to take cool pictures of the windmills. So we parked the car, and I got out, and my shirt just went to my body, and I got a couple pictures, and then my feet were stuck to the pavement because my Tevas I was wearing had melted into the pavement. It was so hot, and so it's like slurk, 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 and I just put like melted Teva goo all over her carpet in her front seat of her car. She never let me live that down. That was hot. I felt like my arm hair was going to burn off that particular day. Andrew Stewart, Houston, I fully support the idea of going to D.C. with a draft bill in hand and talking to reps and senators. If you do it, I'll be there, plus Smithsonian. Yeah. I need to figure out when, how. I was really hoping BBBY wasn't going to shit the bed and I could sell those calls for a pretty penny and have that be like, I'll take a week or two and go to D.C. and do this. But that didn't happen, so maybe a little while. But I want to go, and I don't care what side of the aisle the particular representative or senator is from. I want to talk to every single one of them about how screwed retail investors are and how the way hedge funds are designed is designed to ruin our economy at all times. That it makes us weaker for having them. And we need to get rid of their power structure. Get rid of payment for order flow. Get rid of dark pools. Get rid of naked short selling entirely. Gone. And get rid of high frequency trading. Those 4 things that give them superpowers over everybody else allows them to purposely destroy American businesses at the expense of American workers and American taxpayers and everybody else, and make themselves a quick buck. That is not a healthy economy. You cannot have your markets completely driven by the fact that in order to make money, they have to destroy you. We need to make it hard. We make it hard for them to short companies. They must have to borrow to short. And they must have like time limits on how long they're allowed to borrow. And, once they borrow, they can't naked sell. They naked sell. You got to make it so punishing for them to naked sell that if they produce an FTD, they can no longer trade. And the financial penalty is like 500% the value of whatever they sold naked. You make it so brutal for them, they just can't do it. And they need to have a clock on every trade. So you can't just bounce the same share back and forth 1,000 times and manipulate the market. You buy a share, you're stuck with it for 5 or 10 minutes before you're ever allowed to sell that share again. It goes into your account and it just stays. And it's frozen there because you and I don't have the ability to bounce a share back and forth to each other 1,000 times on our trading computers. We don't have that ability. So why should anyone else have that ability? If you want to make it a free and fair market, you have to level the playing field so that the folks at the bottom rung aren't being fleeced the entire time. That's what's happening. That's what's happening with this ETF that was created. It's the short ETF for all these stocks. It is literally fleecing pension funds, IRAs, 401ks, teacher union investments, state wealth funds. That's who's going to be this going to be marketed to, and the people who are managing those funds, they don't care. Like, I got a paycheck either way, bop. And that's why we had so many the Kentucky unions, the teachers union and the state pension fund got hosed on all these Russian investments because apparently Mitch McConnell somehow convinced everyone in Kentucky to invest in all these Russian companies, and they went to war, and poof, there went all of your investments. Why not invest in America? Why not invest in America if you were going to be an American investment company or a bank or whatever? I understand the drive to invest around the world, but when you are a big company and you invest in, I don't know, $300 billion in Chinese construction bonds, how'd that work out for you? Not too well, did it? No. You gave China all those hundreds of billions of dollars. They built some like cool resorts and towers and train systems and stuff, and then went, I'm not paying you back. We need desperately to lobby the folks in power and get them to change their ways. I guess number 5 is eliminate the ability of people in Congress to trade stocks. That's another big one. People on the Banking and Finance Committee and the defense committees and things like that, those guys are making a killing insider trading. They know exactly what contracts are going, what bills are going to favor who, where tax breaks are headed, and they trade accordingly. And they know when someone's going to lose a contract, so they sell their stock, and then 3 days later the announcement's made that the government contract is over and stock price crashes and so on. We need to fix that as well. So I guess those 5 things. No more trading of stocks by members of Congress or their families. Eliminate payment for order flow. Get rid of dark pools. Get rid of naked short selling. And get rid of high frequency trading. Boom. Those 5 things. Market's fixed, baby. Okay. Where was that one? That was there. Guitar stuff. What's your favorite Monty Python sketch? Mine is the Bruce sketch. I think my favorite one is when it's the Greek versus German philosophers soccer game. And I think it's like Socrates scores a goal, and the commentator is saying that Karl Marx is arguing that the score should be spread evenly amongst everyone. I thought that was hilarious. That's my favorite. Okay. Jiminius. Houston, could you go over why stars, planets, moons form into spheres or near sphere-like objects? Hydrostatic equilibrium. You guys remember that? Let's bring up the MS Paint here. Okay. File. New. There we go. Okay. Bam. Turn you off. Turn you back on. Okay. So. Yeah. Oops, wrong one. I need a brush. That's what I want. Size large, because you guys see. Okay, so inside a star, we talked about hydrostatic equilibrium. This is where you got nuclear explosions happening on the inside, and they're all going outwards. They want to just get the hell away from each other because they're exploding in all sorts of directions, right? But because of a huge pile of mass here, you have gravity pulling inwards. This is when they balance each other out. This is when you have hydrostatic equilibrium. Gravity pulling in, nuclear explosions pushing outwards makes a nice sphere. When you get to a planet, when you get to a planetoid or a comet, dwarf planet, whatever, when it gets to about 500 kilometers across, it starts to get more spherical rather than just kind of a amalgamated shape. This is because gravity is starting to win out over the static bonds of whatever material are there. And so with like planet Earth or the moon or whatever, you have gravity pulling in, and what you have as a force keeping it from pushing in further are the electrons that do not like each other. They're both negatively charged. They don't like being near each other, and so they won't let atoms squish further together because now it's the electron force is keeping everything apart. And so as this gravitational body tries to pull everything into the center, the electrons are saying no and pushing outwards. And so you get hydrostatic equilibrium as the basis of why the Earth is round, or where the moon is round, or Jupiter is round. And that is the force that makes things round. There is no force in the universe to make things flat earthers. Things get round because it wants to pull in. Just like if you're under the ocean, right? You dive deep down, you don't feel all the force like down on you of the pressure. It's everywhere. It's pushing up on you. It's pushing to your sides. All that pressure is pushing in every single direction. Just like if I were to suddenly suck all the air out of a room and you'd be inside of a vacuum, all the pressure wants to go out in all directions. So you just go pap inside that vacuum. And so that's the big thing. The pressure is uniform in all directions, and so that's why you get round things. That work? You throw that at your oops, wrong. There we go. There's my chat back. Throw that at your flat Earth friends, and then go meh. Okay. Guitar stuff. Have you seen the trailer for the new Winnie the Pooh movie? No, I did not know there was a Winnie the Pooh movie. Is it like dark Winnie the Pooh, like Riverdale? Winnie the Pooh is solving like murders in the forest. Doesn't know that Piglet the entire time is the actual murderer. Everyone suspects Tigger. No, I haven't seen that. Sad boy. Well, got coordinates early, man. You guys are just loving the geology lessons, I guess. Where are you taking me, sad boy? Oh, can't understand location. Oh, west. That's why. Didn't put a W in there. Bam. Okay. Scary view if seen through iron sights at this spot. What? Where? I wasn't paying attention where I am. Where am I? Dealey Plaza. Oh. Okay. So we are at Dealey Plaza, and that's the book depository. Okay. Coming up on where Kennedy was assassinated. So they're saying that oh my gosh, I want to say Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby's the way to kill him. Lee Harvey Oswald was up here in the book depository, and he shot into the open limo of John F. Kennedy right there. Shabam. I mean, it's a good spot. And then there's the grassy knoll, which was over here, right? This parking lot. People saying the second shot possibly came from here. And yeah, so we're in Dallas, Texas. Well, there you go. Now I can. Did they give you? Okay. Ooh, you can drag, go inside. Okay, we're inside the book depository. Oh, there's Kennedy. Can we go to the? Let's go to the window. It's kind of fucked up if they do. Pretend you're Lee Harvey Oswald, and you are. Bam, right there. Holy shit. Yep. You go right to the window. Man, Google, this is morbid. He was shooting here, this way, like right over there. So it must be a window over here, my guess, is where it probably was. But they won't let us look through that window. I want to go to that window over there. That one. Right there. Crazy. That's wild. Oh, you got different floors. Oh, 6th floor. Okay. This one gives you a better shot, or just a better view of where they're going through. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. Yep. These are the no phones, no cameras, no recording. Well, they just broke that rule by literally I'm looking at the camera. No photography. Yep. Okay. So evidence forensic ballistics. Wild. So Google got permission to have the camera. Well, they have a whole mock-up here. Whoa. My sister's currently in Dallas. I should have her go do this tour. Wild. All right. Well, there you go. Okay. Huh. Huh. Okay. Cool spot there, sad boy. I must say. Michael McManessian bought 30 shares of Ape today. Did a little part to bring down my average price. Thanks for all you do, Houston. All right. Well, there you go. Oh, wait. Andrew says best skiing in the world here. This is 43 degrees north, 110 west. Is that 110 west, 43? Trying to figure out Idaho? Where am I? 110? No, maybe Wyoming? Where am I? Best skiing. Where am I? What place is this? Fred's Mountain. Oh, Alta. Is that where we are? Oh, it's different Alta. This is the Wind River Range? Is that where I am right now? Best skiing here? I've never skied here. What resort is this? Grand Targhee. Ah, I've never skied at Grand Targhee. You're saying best skiing in the world? I will have to go there and see if you're right. This is Wind River Range, isn't it? Yeah, there's Jackson. Yeah. Cool. All right. I'll try to trust you on that one because I've not skied there. If you had post-Moas cash to spend looking for any legendary unfound treasure, what and where? Well, what I want to do is for the lost treasure of Ingalls Gold, which is here in Washington. I wrote an article about it years ago. Legend of Ingalls Gold. Here we go. Bam. 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 Legend of Ingalls Gold. You guys can read all about it. Basically, Captain Ingalls was a member of the U.S. Cavalry. He got separated from his team and lost in the Cascades. And so, being an idiot, he decided, oh, I'm going to climb that peak. I'm going to figure out where I am. So he spent days climbing to up to this crazy high peak that's 8,000 feet up. And so look where he is. And when he got up there, he found this giant gold vein going from the peak down into this alpine lake. And he's like, oh my gosh, there's so much gold here. I am rich. And he scrambled on the mountain and raced off, head south. Just went south to Portland where his brother was. And he's like, hey, I found a shitload of gold. Let's get a team together and go back and get it. And his brother's like, all right. But they didn't want to tell anyone beyond their group of friends where they're going. So they teamed up with a group of people. They think we're headed to the Fraser Gold Rush up in Canada. And they're working their way up the Columbia River. And when they got to Wenatchee, Ingalls and his brother and team were like, all right, guys, we're out of here. And they snuck off, and the rest of the group went to Canada, and they snuck off into the Cascades. And while they're climbing up a waterfall, or at the bottom of a waterfall, heading up to get out of the Wenatchee River, Ingalls like there's a branch in his way, and he like moved it, and it slapped backwards, and it hit a guy behind him, and then his gun ended up going off, shooting Ingalls in the back. And then Ingalls tried desperately to describe where this gold vein was to his brother and friends before he died. Then he died. No one ever found it. So where it is thought to be is here in the Cascades. So Washington Cascades are the Cascades Mountains here. Wenatchee is here. So this is the Wenatchee River. Goes up through Kashmir, Leavenworth, and so on. And then there's Highway 97, which is this bad boy. Goes through here. This is the Enchantments in Mount Stewart. And this is Ingalls Creek. So they think that from what he described, that on top of the Enchantment Mountains here somewhere was the gold. But then in 1876, there was a gigantic earthquake, 7.2, and there were landslides all over the Cascades. And so the fear is that wherever that gold vein was just crashed down, and they couldn't find it visually. My own personal theory is that there was a gold rush here in the early 1900s, and there's gold mines all over the place, and somebody probably just mined the hell out of it and got the gold. But in order to go up into the Enchantment Lakes, the series of alpine lakes up here, there's a lottery every year for people allowed to hike there. So you got to get permission, and you have to like wait, see if your name comes up. But I would love to actually helicopter in scuba gear and scuba dive all these lakes with a metal detector and see if I can find gold at the bottoms of them. They're gonna be cold as hell, but they're beautiful. Picture of the Enchantment Lakes, some of the most beautiful alpine lakes probably on Earth. The Enchantments. I mean, this place is just alpine beauty squared. Got these cool glaciers, beautiful lakes, small high alpine trees, and this big kind of granite batholith that's here. It is some beautiful, beautiful, crystal clear, absolutely gorgeous, amazing alpine lakes. They are splendid. So Captain Ingalls supposedly up here found a gold vein somewhere along these guys, and but it doesn't look like any landslides in these lakes anyway. I don't know. Every lost gold mine always results in probably someone mined it already. If this 10 years later found it, and oh shit, you guys can't see. Damn it. Ugh. Enchantment Lakes, there we go. These are the enchantments. They're beautiful. It is a gorgeous place to go. And all I've ever seen are my friends that win the lottery and get to go up here and experience the lakes. But I have not won the lottery, so I have not been able to do the hike up here yet. But they're very pretty. Very pretty place. It's gorgeous. Kind of magical. But there is... I'm looking at this rock formation right here. Mineralization is going to be up there. It's going to be something. A lot of Microsoft like backgrounds happen to be the Enchantment Lakes. Okay. Okay, where was that one? Oh, that was a super chat. That's right. Houston, Monica or Rachel, Batman versus Flash in a car race. Monica or Rachel? If this the people from Friends, then I would go with Jennifer Aniston. Back then, she had a little more junk in the trunk. Batman versus Flash in a car race? Well, Batman, he's got a jet engine. Flash, is Flash old enough to drive? I don't know. What, does he even bother to drive? He just runs everywhere. So he probably doesn't know how to drive at all. Okay. Dog Toggler, Houston, Dylan Francis, Wade. What do you like better, peanut butter or cheese, and why? Cheese. Cheese is amazing. I love peanut butter as well. I eat peanut butter regularly. I am a lazy person who will make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich quite often. But cheese is wonderful. I love cheese. I will eat cheese all day long if I could. Cheese and chocolate, that's perfect diet. Just in my head, can tweets or truth be used as evidence in court? Of course. He is a verified account. He can't say somebody else tweeted that for me. They know it was him. So Trump screwed. Robert Hurt, is SPY going to keep going down? Yeah. Yeah. Robert Hurt got a kid that's 1.8 to second base. Is that good? That's like Ichiro times. Oh no, sorry. 1.8 as a catcher. I was like 1.8. That's as a catcher from ball to second base. 1.8 is really good. That's pro time. I think Pudge Rodriguez was like 1.8. Oh, I get the wrong one. Okay, let's see if I can find. There was times where I had I went to a baseball camp and I had a catcher from Stanford that was like my camp counselor, and he was like 1.8 to second base, and yeah, I think Pudge Rodriguez was the most consistent. I don't have time. Let's see if I can put 1.8 in here. Show me. Yeah, Rodriguez in his prime had a 1.75 to 1.8 pop time, and that is so. If you got someone who can throw down to second that fast, if they can manage pitching staff, they'll get themselves a good role in college or beyond. So, yeah, Robert, that's good. So this is here, interviewera.com. What was Pudge Rodriguez's pop time? 1.7, 1.75, 1.8 pop time. Christian Betancourt can also approach that range. Okay. Average high school, 2 to 2.1. Yep. So, if you're 14 years old, throwing 2.7, you want to go D1 school, you can do that on 2. So, yeah, you can go D1, get drafted with a 1.8. Most major leaguers, 1.9 to 2. And, yeah. 1.77 is a plus. Go to high school showcase, see your guys 1.9. So yeah. 1.6 seconds is good. What? 12-year-old is not throwing 1.6 seconds. I'm sorry, I don't know what that one's talking about. But yeah, you're good, Robert. I didn't get second base until I was a teenager. Javi A, good evening, Houston. How long can the short sellers play this game with the financial system? Where is the federal accountability? And as social studies teacher, great, well put rant yesterday. Well, thank you. I went on like a 40-minute rant yesterday. Oh, sorry, big dog. Didn't mean to roll my chair into you, but you were right behind it. Sorry. That just means you're going to come over and say hello. All right, there you are. There you go. People can see your dopey little face now. And the grainy picture that my expensive camera now puts out. Look how so grainy. So grainy, big dog. What were we talking about? Oh, federal accountability? There is none. The feds won't do squat until the economy is completely in a dumpster and a whole bunch of these firms go under. That's when they'll like finally go, okay, I guess we got to fix some rules here, and they'll go and they'll do things. It's that post-mortem period. Because if Gary Gensler and team actually bust these people for the crimes they're doing now, and they suddenly seize their assets or stop trading or whatever, and all these stocks rocket and everyone drops, then the SEC and the government's going to get blamed for killing the economy. But the economy's going to die regardless. So they're just going to wait until the economy dies, then clean up all the bad actors and probably pass some, toothless rules that have some glaring loopholes in them. But they aren't going to do anything until it's all just dead and done and they've lost rich people money. That's when they're going to do it. I've already picked out my refrigerator box I'm going to live in. Excellent, Matt. You're one step ahead of me. Because I don't have a refrigerator box that I can go live in. West Wind, Houston, read something today that doppelgangers can possibly share the same DNA, even if not related. You'll have to get a lock of Dylan Francis' hair to test. I read that, and it was something that I had always wanted to do as a research project, was get a whole bunch of doppelgangers and test their DNA and just see how many traits they share. Pretty crazy. I also read about a girl on TikTok that she was adopted, her boyfriend's adopted, they dated for 6 years, or plan on getting married, and they both did 23andMe to discover that they're brother and sister, and just how fucked up that is. Oops. Darn. Yeah, so, wow, it just seems so like we've known each other our whole lives. Their therapist is going to need therapy after that one. Kumquat Smoothie. Hi, Houston. A lifetime all-inclusive pass to all cruise ships, or a one-time trip to space station for 6 months? I would love to go to space, but I have no desire to go to space station for 6 months. And cruises, I've never been on a cruise, but they seem really disgusting to me. Like, I don't know. In the age of all these pandemics just roaring right now, being trapped on a boat in the middle of the ocean with like 6,000 merkins does not seem appealing. Like just getting the Norwalk virus for like 5 days, or trapped on a COVID boat or something. I think I would do the space over the cruise ship one, but I don't want to be in space for 6 months. That's just too. I don't want my muscles atrophy, my eyeballs pop out of my skull, and to have all sorts of weird like circulatory problems, and that's just a long time to be in space. Come on. Oh, and there's the reset. There's the reset. So I am, of course, an hour behind. That's just what we do. But, oh, well, now everybody from 10 o'clock to 10:29, your chat vanished. So, I'm sorry. I won't be able to read those ones. That's one way that forces me to catch up. Okay. Corey Riders, my wife and I's 7th anniversary this month. I got her a Cooper Rose. Congratulations. There you go. That was a real treasure hunt. They found it. Let's go. Let's talk about treasure hunt earlier. Okay. All right. 25 years here. Bought her a diamond tennis bracelet from Kay. They appreciate it. They do. Only clowns buy diamonds. Honk honk. Alright. Thank you. I proposed to her when she was sitting on the Iron Throne. That was funny. Okay. Dust G, can I sell diamonds that don't exist like hedgies sell stocks? You can, until they catch you. I mean, it happens quite a bit. People, like, you can buy rough gemstones and things on eBay pretty easily. And sometimes there's pretty good auctions for colored gemstones. Diamonds, hit and miss. They'll tell you it's one kind of diamond, it's not. Or they just won't ship it, and they'll take your money and run. And then you got to, like, go through the whole process and have PayPal pay you back. But I don't know, I haven't used that in a long time. I don't think they even use PayPal anymore on eBay. But, I mean, if you can get away with it, you might be able to do it once. and then, there you go. No Mo woke. I've gotten more post-MOAS tax evasion ideas from the show than I have from the internet. There you go. I wrote a whole article also on my Noosphere page. How to launder money. All about using gemstones to launder money. Wrote this one years ago also, so we'll throw that one in there. Bam, bam, bam. Throw that in the chat. But I read a whole article about how to launder money using gemstones. It's the tried and true method. My friend Ben he was a private security contractor and used to run security for the Sinaloa oil cartel. And he'd tell you, first and foremost, those guys would, if they need to move cash around, they would go to auction, buy a boatload of diamonds, bedazzle like little tiny Ed Hardy jeans for a baby with just tons of real diamonds, put those on the kid's pants, put them on the kid, and he and his mom would fly first class like to Mexico or wherever, Colombia, and they would just take those pants, take all the diamonds off, and sell them. Flight attendants are not trained to look at people's jewelry when they get onto a plane. TSA doesn't know to look for it. They don't know, like, oh, this woman has a big gaudy ring on and a big necklace and earrings. They don't realize that she's laundering $30 million across international borders. The customs guys don't ever seem to notice. They're just wearing jewelry, right? And like, oh, it's just costume jewelry or whatever, but it's like a 20 karat canary yellow diamond or something. Yeah, so you want to read all about laundering money using gemstones. There you go. Dust G, I've been in the pawn business. Diamonds aren't worth plucking out of the jewelry and resetting unless you do it yourself. Then yes, I will buy diamonds for pennies on the dollar, worthless, Swiss only. Yep. Unless the diamond's big, they're everywhere. No more woke. Buy her vibrating $5 vibrating toy from Big Lots. That's all she really wants. Philip Clayton, I wish I had adopted kids. My son is literally Satan. Yeah, sorry. That's also a big fear. Like, what if you get a kid and you're like, man, my kid sucks. Like my dad, when my dad talks about my oldest brother, and he just goes, some people's children. Corey Ryder, you know you can get paid for giving sperm. You can. On paper, I look fantastic. I can make top dollar donating. Because on paper, they see tall, white, blue eyes, technically Jewish from my mom's side, astrophysicist, graduate degree, former professional college baseball player. You put that into a computer screen, and a lesbian couple looking for insemination go, I want that one. And then this tall, gangly, weird kid comes out who just wants to look at maps and read almanacs all day, and they go, what the hell? But yeah, I can make good money. If I'm ever in trouble, I can just go pop one off and get $400 or $500. B2B brand, I've walked through a 450 degree oven and a minus 20 degree room with 45 mile an hour wind. 450 degree oven? What? Did you not just melt? Jesus. Okay. Corey Rider's fair, but he started it. Minus 3. I grew up Sundance, Manitoba. Other places get to minus 50. Yeah, I've never been that cold, that much cold. Minus 30 is probably as cold as I've gotten. In Washington, like where I am, we've gotten close to zero. That's about it. Because we're pretty mitigated by the Pacific Ocean. It's really hard to get that cold air to come down. And even like skiing up in the mountains, the coldest has been up in the Cascades when I'm skiing is like 10. And, but getting in the Rockies is a different animal entirely. You're up really high and it gets really cold. Joshua G. Me, I'm in Alberta. I didn't know what cold was until I moved up here from Southern Oregon. Yeah. Red Lake, Ontario, mining purposes, minus 40 regularly. Yeah. Yeah, when it's minus 40 Celsius, it's also minus 40 Fahrenheit. It's the same temperature, minus 40, which is a fun little fact that Nomo was able to throw out there for us. Walk through the oven at the food processing facility. That is just crazy. I can't imagine what it'd be like to walk through a 450 degree oven. What? That just doesn't, my brain does not compute at all what that would be like. We got Anthony Duncalf here from the UK. Yeah. Okay. Dame Horatia. I know you don't go into detail on MMAT anymore, but is it time to dump MMAT stock too? No comment, but I bought more. Every time I got a little bit left after a trade, I just buy more meta material right now. I'm just buying it up. They did get a notification they need to get their stock price up above $1 in the next 180 days. But if MMTLP goes private and sells, while oil prices are like $90 plus a barrel, that will mean like $1 billion in cash for metamaterial, because it is their subsidiary. They own a bunch of those MMTLP shares, so they'll get like $1 billion cash. And once they make that announcement, the stock price can go. It'll be back up above $1. So they just need to do that in 180 days. That's what they need to do. Houston, do you own any Ape? Yes. I've not bought any, but I have what I got. Probably should get some. So especially since it's on a threshold list. It's at what, $4 right now? Is that where it was today? Quick look at my thing. Ape, $4.93. $4.85 is where it was after hours. Yeah. I might pick up some more. Now it's going on a threshold list. Tomorrow MOS. Sure, totally. All right. Looking. TB Cooper, most of you want to buy a house or a car with your MOS. I want to buy a politician. A man with a plan right there. All right. Oh, okay, we're to the... we've managed to catch up enough to the point where everyone is reciting hydrostatic equilibrium. Here we go. Excellent. Jar stuff, I'm watching the Mariners game. This dirt strip from the mound to home plate is an eyesore. You don't like the pitcher's walk? My high school had one. My high school field is the worst fucking field I've ever played on in my life. I actually wrote an article in our paper about what a trash heap our field is, and that there's teams who refuse to come play there. It is absolute garbage. It's like ankle breaker. Kids have noses broken from the lip of the infield. Weird hops and stuff. It's just absolute terrible field. But yeah, we had a pitcher's walk from home plate to the pitcher's mound. It's it's old school. It's old school. White holes opposite of black holes push all matter out. Theorized. None have ever been seen, though. No flat earth favorite land surveyor knows that exactly. Yep. Okay. Westwind, what's their benefits of bouncing the shares back and forth? Bouncing where? They sell them to each other. Just shoot them back and forth. If they want to drive a price up or down, they will, in their algorithms or trading computer, they will have the price slowly drop by a hundredth of a penny each trade, and they will corroborate with another trading platform, and they'll bounce that share back and forth and slowly drop the price down because it's going through the stuff. They want to increase volume of a stock. They just bounce the same share back and forth, do huge trades back and forth. It's absolutely crazy, and it's silly, and it's all manipulation. There should, and there's also arbitrage. So there's some reason for doing it. Like, you might be able to sell a stock for, let's say $4.50, and you can buy it back at $4.59.99, right? And you can sell it again for $50, buy it back at $49.99, and sell $50, buy it back for $40, and they'll do that a million billion times, and they'll just shave those fractions of a penny off and get themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars a day in profit through the arbitrage of that high frequency trading. One exchange over here has it for $50, one exchange over here has it for $50.01, and then buy here, sell there, buy here, sell there, and you can do arbitrage like that. So that's why that the high frequency trading exists, and it's used for evil more than it is for good. Cy Mandan makes great videos for flat earthers. I'll check that out. My roommate was watching this debate between a flat earther and some astrophysicist, and he made me just sit and listen to the debate. And it was quite funny because astrophysicist the entire time was like, "You're an idiot. You're dumb. You don't know what's going on." He goes like, "Quit being so mean to me." He's like, "Well, if you didn't exist as such a moron, I wouldn't have to tell you such an idiot." And he was explain some physical property that exists in the universe, and the flat earther would be like, "Well, that's not how I think it works." He's like, "Don't give a shit how you think it works. You're wrong. You don't know what's going on." G-Font just got in. Did you mention how the rupee and yen have completely tanked? There's a global dollar shortage. DXY is crushing it. Well, the yen is tanked for sure, but I know the rupee was also tanking. Rupee tanking. Economic Times. This is from when? Today. Any rupee pressure by strong dollar. RBI supported rupee opened weaker Friday after the dollar index reached a 1-month high following comments from U.S. Federal Reserve officials over the quantum of rate hikes. Rupee post weekly loss and performs Asia. So it's finishing a little bit lower. The yen is definitely collapsing. The yen is down. They are Japanese yen's kind of doomed right now. It's kind of doomed. So I don't know what Japan's going to do. Japan has been offloading U.S. bonds, which, it is the worst bond market ever. But offloading the bonds doesn't necessarily mean you have more money to play with, because those bonds are used as the collateral for whatever plays you want to do. But yeah, the Japanese yen is collapsing back to the levels they were when I was a kid. When I was a kid living in Japan, it was like 400 or 500 yen to the dollar. So when something costs 100 yen, to me that was like a quarter. So I'd go to the little shop on the street. So we lived in this concrete apartment building, and across the street was this little mini mart type place, and they had these grape and orange. They weren't quite sodas. They were kind of like, I don't know. They're delicious, but they were 100 yen, so like 25 cents. And I would buy them, and they came in these long, skinny steel cans that were like impossible to dent. They were the craziest things, and so I would get one of those for 100 yen, drink it, and then I'd spend all afternoon trying to smash it with rocks, see if I could dent the can. But they were, I don't know, they're the strongest tubular steel I've ever experienced in my life, and they could not dent. And then, all of a sudden it was 100 yen to the US dollar, and it was basically parity. So 1 yen was a penny, and things weren't cheap anymore for us. And that's when Japan had a cheap currency, they were exporting a ton. Because if you had cheap currency, it's cheaper for people to make things in Japan. But then Japan had their economic crisis in the 90s, and the yen got stronger and savings went up. People in Japan have an incredible amount of savings, and they I don't even know what the number is anymore, but the average savings is probably like $100,000 per person is in savings accounts. And whereas Americans have like $400, we spend everything we get. So that's what keeps our economy going. And then Japan's economy sort of stagnates because people don't spend like they should. And when they do spend, it's not in the country. It's when they go to Hawaii for their vacation, they spend like crazy and buy everything. So they're dumping all their savings cash outside of Japan and not helping bolster Japan's economy. And Japan's population is aging. It's the oldest population on Earth. The population's shrinking. Small towns are just blinking out of existence. So there's websites you can go to and you can get homes in Japan for like $1. It's kind of like those little towns in Italy. Let's see here. $1 homes. I forget what the website was. Japanese government selling homes for $500. Live in abandoned houses. Where's that? Tokyo cheap vacant houses, countryside steel. Is this what I'm looking for? Yeah, so there's lots of them. I used to have the official website for it. But in these little towns, the young people are moving to the cities. The city is staying completely dense, but the towns are just hemorrhaging population. The young people leave, the old people die, and the homes are cheap. You can get them for like $1 or free, $500. So lots of these towns are giving away houses for young families. As long as you move there, you get the house for free. But yeah, so I mean, unless Japan starts taking in a bunch more immigrants, there's gonna be no one except robots left to take care of the old people, because the young folks are not repopulating at any levels that they should. Yeah. Where am I? Dark poo. Disney more multiverse bad breaks bad. And Jason Blackwell, number 6 on the congressional list, eliminating debt equity swaps. That's probably good. I mean, if we get rid of their ability to generate FTDs, then those debt equity swaps will kind of vanish on their own, right? But we can explicitly say, yeah, you can't trade debt. Your debt's your debt. That's it. Okay. John Vasquez, Houston, how do you feel about RC now they took away BBBY as a squeeze play from us? RC double agent? No, I don't think it's double agent. I think the Bed Bath & Beyond people probably screwed him. So if he had remained at 9.8% ownership and not as an insider, he could have said, like, I'm walking away from this company and selling everything. Blanc. But the BBY folks bought back stock, which inadvertently made him an insider at 10%. And so he couldn't talk about selling. Because all of a sudden he's insider and he's got to file all his paperwork about selling and whatnot ahead of time. And so he couldn't say, like, this company is doomed. They're doing the Boston Consulting Group method and paying attention to Jim Cramer, and I'm out. So that is probably where he got stuck. I bet they probably screwed him over. Our hope was, in the language of the agreement that he made, was if he's gonna have any deal, he wasn't allowed to own any Bed Bath & Beyond stock. So I was hoping, that's what I was thinking was happening, was he sold because he struck a deal with Bed Bath & Beyond. But apparently Bed Bath & Beyond just wants to doom themselves into a debt spiral and be completely manhandled by short hedge funds. So they're going to just be borrowing and then selling more stock and then borrowing and then selling more stock. And that's just what they're going to do in perpetuity as they slowly close stores around the country. And maybe if they're lucky, they sell off some of their brands, but it sounds like they're just closing brands. And they're doing exactly what Kmart and Sears did. Craftsman Kenmore outlasted Sears because they sold off those marketable brands before they went under. But you don't necessarily save a company by closing off its revenue source. If your job is to have places for people to buy stuff, and you close a bunch of those locations, then people can't buy your stuff, and so your revenues go down. When I was at the Art Institute of Seattle, the the company that owned the Art Institute and like Brown Mackie College and University of the South and Argosy University, and I can't remember all the other schools they owned. They were the Education Management Corporation, and then they got bought by Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs went in there, Bronx bought them, and Education Management Corporation was a school / real estate holdings company because they owned all the buildings their schools were in and all these major urban areas, and the buildings were worth a fortune. Goldman Sachs jumps in, buys their company, and starts selling all the real estate out from under them, and then leasing the property back. So we had bring up a map here because we love our maps on Houston. We have a problem. Houston, we have a Google Earth, is what this show really is. So where are you in the Northwest? Excellent. Let's get over to Seattle here. So downtown Seattle, the campus for the Art Institute of Seattle. That's the aquarium. There we go. All right. So this building, this building here, it's 2 blocks long, along the waterfront. It was the home of Real Networks, Zulily, and the Art Institute of Seattle owned all like 1 million square feet of this building. So it's 7 stories tall or so. It is a $100 million building in downtown Seattle. But what the vice president of Education Management Corporation did was he sold this building for $15 million in 2012 at the absolute bottom of the market. So when no one had any money to buy anything, he sold this building for $15 million, gave himself a $15 million bonus, and retired. And the deal was we leased back our floors for $600,000 a year. The college made $6 million a year in rent off of this building. They sold it for $15 million. Basically 2.5 years worth of rent paid for what they sold that building for. And we leased back for $600,000 a year. So rather than making $6 million profit for the college every year, we're now hemorrhaging $600,000 in cash because the vice president gave himself a huge bonus. Okay, they did this, and they also had this building here. This is the other building that the Art Institute was in. And they own this building as well, which is a block long, worth probably $20-30 million. Had a huge parking garage at the bottom that the World Trade Center over here used, and a bunch of other places. Made profit like crazy. They sold it and then rented it back for almost $1 million a year. So now they're spending $1.6 million a year in rent on 2 buildings that they used to own and make money off of by renting to other people and selling parking spots in the 6th floor parking garage below it. So when that happened, they're like, oh my goodness, our revenues are down at the next quarterly report. And they're like, oh, so we have to save money, so let's like fire teachers. So they let a bunch of teachers go. And they hired a bunch of people like me who were cheap because we just teach a class here and there, and we don't have any benefits, and we're adjunct, right? Because I have other things I do. And so they cut all these classes, and then they're like, "Oh man, we made $40 million last year. We only made $20 million this year. So let's cut some more classes." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, we made $20 million last year. We only made $7 million this year. Let's cut some more classes." Never once in their mind did it occur to them that their entire revenue is selling classes. So if they fire teachers who can't offer classes, they can't make any money. Right? Like, each student pays, I don't know, $4,000 per class at our institute. It's not a cheap school. So they're paying $4,000 per class. They pay me like $2,500 a quarter to teach one of their classes. Not much money at all. I wasn't in it for the money. I just like teaching and having the opportunity to just teach every once in a while. So one student definitely pays for me and then some. 2 students probably pays for the facilities. 3 students probably pays for any classified staff, secretaries, janitors, security. 4 students is profit. So anytime you offered a class that had more than 4 students in it, you're making money. But if you fire the teachers and don't have the class to offer, you have a bunch of empty classrooms sitting there, sucking down energy and heating costs and everything else, and you're paying rent on an empty classroom. Your entire job, if you're a for-profit college, is to offer as many classes as humanly possible, and you make money. And the year I started at the Art Institute in 2010, they did $80 million a year. By the time the school was forced to close in 2019, they were down to $6 million a year in revenue and $8 million a year in costs. because they fired everybody and got rid of all the classes that they sold. So these companies that think they're a retail business and they've got these shops people go to and buy things, and they close the retail space and they go, oh, our revenue dropped by 10%. Yeah, dummy, you closed 10% of your retail locations. That's how it works. And you have a terrible online presence. You didn't at all invest into like becoming a .com. So yeah, if you don't have your retail presence, people aren't going to be able to buy your stuff. And you want to get into a debt spiral, you start getting rid of the things people use to pay you money. And so Bed Bath & Beyond is in that Boston Consulting Group debt spiral where they probably paid $50 million to them to like tell them, you know what you should do? You should streamline. You should close about 10% of your stores and get rid of your distribution network. And then you should like all the things you should do in-house. You should pay some contractor to do for twice as much. And thank you for the $50 million contract to tell you what to do. And they go, oh, okay. And so they do that, and then like, oh, we just lost 10% revenue, and our costs went up by 35%, and I guess we got to borrow more money and sell more shares, and then just float becomes gigantic, the stock becomes worthless. They get seller pegged, and that's it. So, we need to change this country from business models that are entirely designed to destroy everything and make a country that actually empowers business and workers. It's so frustrating to watch this happen again and again and again. Consarn it. Dadgummit. Get me cussing like a prospector. Okay. Oh, now we're getting to the conspiracy theories in the chat about the Kennedy assassination. I watched the Zapruder footage, and it's really cool. YouTube did a thing where they centered everything because the camera was all shaky, and that was really cool to watch, but I still couldn't make out what was going on. Just Kennedy went down, his wife climbed over him, and that's all I can make out. All right. Science me. Hi, Houston. I can see a 600-year-old volcano from my house. Should I be worried his buddies are going to pop up in my lifetime? Rangitoto Island, Auckland. Oh, you're in New Zealand. Let's. How do I spell that again? Where were you? I lost it. Science me. There we are. Rangitoto, New Zealand. Auckland, New Zealand. Bam, bam. So let's have a look-see. So that is a fresh volcano, Rangitoto Island. Let's zoom out, and we're going to look at where New Zealand resides. So New Zealand is a microcontinent. It broke off of Australia, which broke off of India, Madagascar, and Africa. I don't know, 400 million years ago or so. And there is a continental plate that mixes with an ancient oceanic plate, and they're colliding. So they have the oceanic plate here, it's the leading edge of the oceanic plate, and then the Pacific plate, and they're smacking into each other. They're smacking into each other because there is a spreading ridge on the Indian Ocean that's spreading apart and moving it east, while the Pacific Ocean is getting spread by the spreading ridge in the Atlantic and moving west, and it's basically smushing them together. Now, because this is somewhat continental rock and not as much oceanic rock, it is a little bit lighter and fluffier than the Pacific Ocean plate, which is dense, hard basalt rock. So the basalt rock dives underneath, and as it goes underneath, you get an island arc volcano chain where they meet, and at the leading edge is New Zealand. So on the southern edge of this volcano chain is basically this whole area here, Auckland, North Island, and whatnot. And you can see that there's some uplifting, probably volcanic action where Tonga is. We saw that huge volcanic eruption from Tonga, and Wallace and Futuna. Fiji is probably an older island. You can see like there's an older island arc chain here, and it's kind of compressed on all sides. So it looks almost like the eye of a hurricane the way it got compressed. It's kind of cool. There's also really good gold in Fiji, gold mines there. Anyway, so you have an island arc volcano that popped up, and this is a little bit further west than how far like Tonga is as an island arc, but the plate probably dives deeper down here because this is lighter and fluffier, so it's probably diving much deeper, and the magma that gets remelted and pops up will pop up like 100 miles further west, much like you get on like volcanoes in South America. They are further west from the subduction zone. The volcanoes up in the Pacific Northwest, they are several hundred miles further west than where the subduction zone is. Japan, kind of the same thing. Japan and Philippines. Subduction zone here. Volcanoes are a little bit further away. Same thing with the volcanoes in Japan. Volcanoes in Alaska, up here in the Aleutian Peninsula here, are much further in. So when you get lighter, fluffier material, the volcanoes will start popping up further away from where the island arc would normally begin. So yes, there is a chance that that sucker can pop again. You can see there's a couple other volcanoes out here. There's quite a few volcanoes in New Zealand. What was the island that just had one recently? It's up off... Is it up here? There was an island that there was like a phosphate mine or something that was on the island and just blew up, and they barely got everybody out in time. But it was one of the northern islands somewhere up here, I thought. Or maybe it was up here. Can't remember which side. Where would you be if you were an island that just blew up? Not as far as Tonga, but crud, can't remember. But yeah, it'll let you know it's gonna go. So if you can sit and you can see the sucker from your house, it'll let you know. It'll give Auckland plenty of time to freak out and run away. Prevailing winds. Which way prevailing winds go here? My guess is they probably go that way. They go from the northwest. This might blow the ash away from you, which would be nice. But, you know, it could also just destroy things with big explosions. I'll have to read more about that volcano and see what the... but it's not a nice cinder cone right there. And the big thing is that it's in the water. So basically the caldera for the volcano is probably the entire bay that Auckland is on. So just like Tonga, when you get water intrusion into that magma chamber, it can flash into steam and create just an incredible explosion. Just like Krakatoa in Sumatra, Java. Get the water in there with the magma, the explosion can be just freakish. So it's 850 feet high, 5.5 kilometers wide. Geology. So 5-10 years of eruptions 600 years ago, but probably started by a series of eruptions 6,000 years ago. Probably was a smaller volcano that it buried. So, doesn't say anything about the geology about future eruptions here. So it's got lava tubes though. That's cool. Go check those out. But my guess is if it does start to go, because it's oceanic in this water environment, I would go somewhere else for a while, for sure. Okay. Daphne, so I missed the first part of chat. Houston, what do you think is MOAS? What do you think? Is MOAS that much less likely after weeks like we have had lately? No. All they've done is increase liability. Everything they do to try and suppress the price is increasing how many synthetic shares they have to generate to do that, and it increases liability. Today marks when the ISDA launches their Phase 6. So all these guys that do these debt and equity swaps all the time, they now have to post a pretty hefty collateral for their margin and be allowed to do these things. And if they don't post it, they get blacklisted and cannot do swaps with anyone. Or do any derivatives deals for that matter. So I think a lot of family funds and a lot of the medium-sized hedge funds are suddenly going to find themselves like isolated, without being able to touch the derivatives market. If they can't touch the derivatives market, they can't make plays. And they don't have ways of sort of covering their positions when they do, or hiding their positions in a way. It's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see how the next few weeks play out with this as a new rule for these guys. And I want to know, like, will the ISDA publish a blacklist? Like, these people blacklisted, can't do any trades with them, and we get to see who that is and who's like in trouble. And I don't know, we figure out how we can find credit default swaps on any bonds they've sold or something, and short them somehow. I'd be interested. Sincere 206. I live in Dallas now, and it was weird driving past the grassy knoll. It's weird to be in historic places like that, isn't it? You've like seen the footage of. You're like, huh, I'm standing right here where that thing happened. It's weird. Danny, is Ape going to zero? No. They'll try. But in 13 trading days, threshold buys will start popping off. Philip Clayton, a lot of trees in front of that book depository building, Houston. There were a lot of trees there. I'm not sure how big the trees were back then. They grow, pretty fast. World's best powder, Teton Range. Oh, the Grand Tetons. Those weren't the Wind Rivers, the Grand Tetons. I've not skied there. I want to. I hear it's fluffy. I'd love to try it. Oh, Teton, not Wind River. Sorry. Got my mountain ranges mixed up. I apologize. I don't always get it right. Corey Ryder, Bayrock, and Felix Sater. Wait, what are we talking about here? Wait, Corey, where am I? You guys don't know about Bayrock. Bayrock is a crazy firm that's owned by basically the Russian mafia. Felix Sater is a Russian mobster who spent some time in prison because he broke a martini glass and stabbed the throat of a man with it. And when he got out of prison, he essentially worked for the CIA. Like, they sent him to Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan and whatever, and he got them information from Russian mobsters. And then he did this deal with, oh crap, who is the Kazakhstan guy who got busted doing human trafficking? But they were all in on Trump Soho in Manhattan. And that was basically the money that paid for that came from the Russian mafia. And Felix Sater was part of it. And that was a huge financial disaster. It was part of the Apprentice, a big part of the Apprentice seasons were detailed on like Trump Soho and managing that. But it was just a money laundering scheme for the Russians. And then the guy behind... I think it was the guy behind Bayrock might have been the one that got busted for trafficking prostitutes in Turkey. He had a private yacht and a bunch of prostitutes on that yacht, and got busted for that. And then sort of the money got pulled from there. Yeah, so then Felix Sater basically got... So then he and Manafort introduced... Oh, how'd it go? I don't remember my story now. Felix Sater and Paul Manafort introduced that weird Ukrainian guy to Trump. And he was the guy that was like doing weird stuff in Ukraine, trying to get the Ukrainians to announce that they're investigating Hunter Biden or something before the election. And then Trump had refused to give the Ukrainians the weapons they need unless they would investigate Hunter Biden. And so then he got impeached for that whole thing. It was a perfect phone call. It's just a complete mess. I don't know why we're talking about Beta Rock and Felix Sater, because I totally missed whatever in the chat was about that. But yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Scott Poland, why dig for gold when rivers are a natural sluice? Well, you still have to dig in the river to get the gold, because the gold, there's lots of gravel, and the gold will sink through all the gravel because it weighs, 19 times more than water and 4 or 5 times more than the rock. And it'll sink down until it hits the hard pan, whether it's clay or bedrock. It'll go all the way down in there. So you got to get all that material out of the way. You got to suck it out of the way, dig it out of the way, and then you can get to all the gold that's at the bottom. So that's why you got to dig no matter what you do. Billy, take us to HYMC. I've gone to HYMC with you guys so many times. It's the Black Rock Desert. Backing out. Nevada, Black Rock Desert. There's Black Rock Desert. And there's HYMC mine. There we go. Ta-da! There they are. Yay! There you go. And Burning Man is not the Burning Man here. As you can see, the Burning Man mess on the desert floor. Is it this side that's in? Or further south. There it is. There's the Burning Man. Ta-da! There you go. So this whole like grid pattern. This is a satellite photo during Burning Man. Everybody's here. There you go. You just drive off in the desert and do driving off in the desert things. Yeah. So last summer I went through Gerlach, drove up through here, took some pictures of Monkey Butt out in the desert, and it's fun to go drive on because it's long and flat, and you can there's no speed limit, and just drive around. If you get a little closer to Gerlach, this is the bottom part of the drainage. So you're at, 310 feet here. And 3909. So along the edges here, there's still a lot of moisture sometimes here, so you can actually get your car stuck if you don't have four-wheel drive. So you might want to watch out there. But it's fun to go drive around. I've said it before. You don't have to wait for Burning Man and pay a bunch of money to go to Burning Man in order to do a bunch of drugs out in the desert. You can go any time of the year you want, drive out there and just do a bunch of drugs in the middle of the desert. There's really no one stopping you. You can just do it. So keep that in mind. You don't have to wait for everyone else to show up. You can just, anytime you want, you can just drive out to Gerlach and go do some drugs in the desert. Which I'm sure what all these folks are doing right now. Corey Ryder. Nestle gets swimming pool water for $3 to $5, then sell us 250 milliliter bottles for $25 for $5. Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, here in Washington, water's pretty cheap. I can't remember what the price is that I pay right now. It's like, what, $1 per 1,000 cubic feet or something? That's a lot of water. That's 1,000 cubic feet is like 25 tons. It's a boatload of water. But if I wanted to bottle it and sell it to somebody, it'd be like, oh, fresh, pristine Northwest water here for $2 or whatever. Yeah. Corey Ryder, Batman vs Superman, who wins? It never would have been close. If Superman really wanted to, he would fuck up Batman so hard. Yeah. But yeah, Batman got kryptonite, and that's one thing. That's the equalizer, right? But then Superman just runs away and laser beams him from far away, and that's it. Late night streams using at least private coffee and donuts. Oh, donuts sound really good right now. I would love some. We're at almost the 2 hour point. And I am an hour behind the chat, as always. So, shall I scroll ahead? Sorry if I missed your chats. I try to get to what I can, but you guys get me off in tangents and I just go. West Wind, I find it odd that I yawn when my pets yawn. I've yet to have them yawn when I yawn. Most I get is a dog stretch. Humans are sympathetic yawners. It does trigger something in our brain. Go. No, 100 of you at home are going. That's what happens. So, sympathetic yawners. It's part of our lizard brain. We just have to do it. We don't realize we're doing it. Yeah. So. BW brand, amazing how one man can absolutely destroy anything if you let him. Higher in the chain you are, the worse your decisions can be. Oh yeah, definitely magnifies for sure. Leadership goes a long way. When we think about Apple, right? The company was started by Steve Jobs et al., and they are visionaries. They had visions for things or products they wanted to do, and then bean counters took over. And the bean counters took over and like, we need to figure out how we can maximize profit and reduce taxes. And the Apple stock went down to pennies, 25 cents a share. Then they had to bring Steve Jobs back, and he's like, vision, let's build stuff again. Let's make some cool things. And the stock price went to $680 before they did all the splits. That's what's happening with Discovery Channel right now, and a lot of Hollywood, is that the people who love making shows and see it as an art form, and they want to make movies and TV shows and stuff they want to watch, are being replaced by Wall Street bean counters who are trying to figure out where they can shave a penny here and get a tax break there. And so Discovery just bought HBO Max, which is an incredibly successful streaming service, HBO and cable channel, and they are destroying all of the IP and doing tax write-offs on it. And Discovery Channel, the average viewer of Discovery Channel is old as shit, an average viewer, and white. An average viewer of HBO is all over the place. All age groups, men, women, children, from 0 to 100 years old. They are all over the place. And Discovery, the folks at Discovery are now trying to turn HBO into Discovery's demographic, which is worth less than HBO. They're getting rid of women in charge, getting rid of minorities that are in charge of HBO, and they're just putting white dudes in charge. And trust me, they're going to ruin everything you love about HBO and all the shows and movies you love. They are going to be gone, replaced with like House Hunters International. They're going to ruin HBO, and it's because people who don't have love for making TV and movies are now in charge of HBO, and that's going to be it. Goodbye. So long, all the fun shows we had over the years. They're just going to go to reality television. That's their entire... It's cheap. We get a bunch of old people that can't figure out how to use a Roku can watch it. And there you go. Phil Scribb, if one goes to Seattle for schooling, be prepared to turn far left liberal. Or it could just be that people who are educated go, oh man, this system's fucked up. We gotta fix it. Oh man, I learned all this history about why things are the way they are. Man, we've got these institutions that are completely steeped in a history of racism and oppression. We should probably change that. That's what happens, Phil Scribb. You just have to like go get educated, and you will completely change your view on everything. Yep. Billy, here's what's your take on Mar-a-Lago? Post MOAS, I'm going to buy Mar-a-Lago, and I'm going to turn it into Burning Man. I'm going to buy it at auction from the U.S. Marshals Service, I'm going to turn it into Burning Man East. All right. Peter, hi Houston. How do you think Ape will easily hit about 5K? Not a shield, not a financial advice. Just asking. I have no idea. Not a clue. It's going to, if everyone holds tight and doesn't sell, when we get to that T90 date, when that threshold list stuff starts popping and they can't buy synthetics, I'm sure we're going to see some serious price action out of it. T0 is the way to go. Everyone who lists their stock in the future needs to make it a T0 stock. So they don't have any opportunity to sell things naked. It has to be cleared that day or else. Yeah. Phil Scribb, where on earth is Carmen Sandiego? She's always in Colombo. My version always loved having her always be in Colombo. I don't know why, but like 50% of the time she was in Colombo. I do have a 3.5-inch drive. Just see if I can get that sucker to boot up. I doubt it will, but okay. Okay, let's see here. I'll do like one or two more, and then that's it. That's nighttime for me. BW brand Phase 6 will take weeks or months to yield results. The heads of the IMF and World Bank said it themselves in some public meetings. I think it will. I think it will take a while to shake it out, to get people to comply. Yeah, it's going to take a while, because you're going to have people like, what? I didn't hear about that. Why can't I do this deal? I've got to post how much collateral? And they're going to like shake their fist, even though they've been given like years of warning and they've been sent letters and phone calls and emails and everything else. They'll pretend like it's news to them, and they're going to keep trying to do all their debt swaps and equity swaps and weird options plays and everything else. Jay King, Houston, what are your thoughts on Meet Kevin telling everyone to sell their Ape shares, but also having some involvement in the Rex shares ETFs? That tells me the dude's sold out. That's exactly what he did. Now, he probably made a pretty chunk of change doing it. My price is pretty high to sell out. No one has made me that offer yet. And when they do, I will gladly tell you that I've sold out. And then go and file whistleblower status with the SEC, so I get paid twice. But yeah, no one's made that offer to me yet. I would love for someone to make that offer to me. Just collect that whistleblower compensation while in my hammock on a beach somewhere, throwing a tennis ball from monkey butt into the water would just be fantastic. I would gladly do it. So, Ken Griffin et al. Just write a number on a piece of paper and slide it across the table. I'll let you know if it's enough or not. Okay? And then I can buy a bunch of GME shares with it and file whistleblower status. But yeah, he definitely sold out. He did. Citizen 54, what causes an ice age? Is it a unique occurrence, or has this happened many times before? Ice ages have happened a lot. About every 25,000 years, we have a peak ice age. So there's the carbon cycle. And water vapor, we talked about, again and again, somewhat now famously on Reddit, why does it rain? Well, the sun comes out, the air warms, it rises, cools, condenses, turns to rain clouds, and rains. Well, the only way water vapor can condense is if there's a particle for it to condense around. And for most of the Earth's history, the most common particle in the atmosphere that it condensed around were CO2 molecules. And so there's dust and things like that in the atmosphere as well, but CO2 molecules provided enough surface area for the water vapor to condense around, and a raindrop would be like the nucleus of a raindrop. So you get lots of CO2 in the air. You have lots of chance for water vapor to condense and rain back down. And what happens is it brings the CO2 out of the air, brings it down to the surface, and then it gets washed into streams and rivers and flows down the ocean, and it gets turned into, limestones and little creature shells and things like that. And the CO2 gets sunk into the oceans, and then, it's made into oceanic rock, and then the oceanic plate hits the continent and dives underneath, and all that CO2 melts out of that oceanic rock, gets farted out by volcanoes, and so on. And so if you shut off the volcanoes, there's not too many volcanoes happening, then there's not as much rainfall, more sunshine hits the earth, and you don't have that layer of CO2 keeping things warm. And so things get colder, and then you get more ice forming on land, and it reflects all that sunlight back because there's nothing cooling off and nothing blocking the ice from reflecting the sunlight back, and you get an ice age. And then if volcanoes, and then when it's colder, there's less rain, and so the CO2 starts to build up in the atmosphere again. And as the CO2 builds up in the atmosphere, more rain clouds start to form, and things get warmer, and the ice age goes away. So it's kind of this natural cycle of CO2 being plentiful in the atmosphere and CO2 not being so plentiful in the atmosphere. That was the natural cycle. We have busted open the natural cycle by releasing about, 500 million years worth of CO2 in the last 150 years. So that CO2 that's trapped inside the Earth that gets released by volcanoes, well, we found all sorts of it we could find and release it in the atmosphere without the volcanoes being involved. We tap the coal, we tap the oil, we grind up limestone for cement, we burn natural gas, we do all sorts of stuff that releases a lot of CO2 that's been trapped for hundreds of millions of years into the atmosphere, and we've tilted the balance. So we should be heading towards an ice age. We should be at the beginning of a glaciation, and we were headed that way. We had the mini ice age in Europe, and then we discovered industrialization, and we started burning stuff and cutting down trees and pumping CO2 into the atmosphere. And rather than getting colder, sliding towards a glaciation, we are getting hotter again, which is breaking the entire cycle. The last time the cycle was broken like this was during the Siberian traps, which are the largest flood basalts the Earth has ever seen. And that pumped so much CO2 in the atmosphere that there was no ice anywhere on Earth, even at altitude. It didn't snow. It released so much CO2 that the oceans basically became carbonic acid and killed 97% of all life as we know it, just kind of melted everything. And we had the Precambrian or the Cambrian extinction. So, there you go. Ta-da! Okay. Zart23 looks like getting annihilated there. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Bye-bye, Zart. Okay. Brent Pac-Man Houston, where does the money go if you are buying fake shares and are created? Not market cap for company? No, because the company didn't sell the shares. And because they're naked, they're not counted towards the shares that are in circulation. So the market cap is not calculated. I did a DD on, it might have been RGME before they got taken over by shills, but showing like the true market cap of companies, talking about like, the share price is this, and there's this many shares in existence, but what's trading is probably this many shares. The actual market cap of a company like GameStop is probably in the $100 billion, right? Because there's that many more shares actually trading than the 300 million that they say exist. And that's like the true market cap. So if suddenly you were to eliminate all these naked shares, shunk, and all that value went into the shares that exist, GameStop, before the split, should have been trading at $1,200 to $2,000 a share. That's how much people had invested into the company. And that's what I call like the true market cap, without all those nakeds being in there. But the money that's sold on those goes to the hedge fund or the market maker who created it. And they take that money and they go, thank you very much. And eventually they're told to give it back and they go, no. And then everyone goes, oh, and they forget about it. My guess is with that cash, they give themselves bonuses. And then they take the rest of the cash and they stick it in a foreign offshore bank account that's somewhat tied to their hedge fund. And if the hedge fund ever goes under and the clients demand their money back, they go, we're bankrupt. And they just cut ties with that thing and then they go play with their money in the Caymans, and that's what they do. But, yeah. There we go. Okay, the big dog just got up and unplugged my microphone. Oh, you terrible beast. You are the worst. You can never go under my feet again. You know that? You're banned from going under my feet. Like, put your head in the keyboard and reset the entire chat for me, and then you unplug the microphone. I can't go to bed till I finish the water. Is that the rule? Okay. I'm so hydrated right now. All right. Okay. Had some tire fires. What? I'm tired. I totally lost where I was and what I was talking about. Ice Ages. I'm talking about where the money went. We danced to that one. Your brain can say that now, but wait and see. They already killed several channels I liked. I stopped watching TV in 2001. It's kind of how it works. I mean, Discovery Channel, their entire bread and butter was essentially taking a bunch of fat rednecks, put them in a situation where they could break stuff and yell at each other, and that was their show. Whether it was gold mining, whether it was baking motorcycles, whether it was logging trees, whether it was building hot rods, whether it was, didn't matter what it was. They just took some fat rednecks, had them break shit and yell at each other. And the old demographic of History Channel and Discovery Channel, which a lot of times are just kind of people like learning, I like seeing a documentary and learning stuff. Look, I'm watching World War II and Hitler, and I'm watching stuff about sharks or whatever. That demographic changed, and they started basically, their entire demographic was old people who couldn't figure out a smart TV. And so they just got classic cable, and they were too stupid to do anything else, and they just watched fat guys break stuff and yell at each other. And all of the young demographic went to Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and Disney Plus and Apple TV and all that stuff, where there's engaging, smart, amazing television being made and written. And Discovery was like, oh shit, maybe we should make a streaming service. And they made the worst streaming service in the entire world that has the worst user interface and has the worst TV shows. And somehow they managed to bust out of them getting short attacked by Archegos and others, generate enough capital to buy Warner Brothers, and now they're going to destroy Warner Brothers. And we're going to miss out on seeing Brendan Fraser as a bad guy in Batgirl and Michael Keaton as Batman. They destroyed all the footage. It is gone. We will never know what that movie was like. And they're just deleting children's shows like crazy. They're going to destroy Sesame Street. It's gonna be bad, man. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. Well, Peacock is gonna stream Jurassic whatever. What's the most recent one? I haven't seen it yet. I'll go check it out. MacGruber was brilliant on Peacock. That's the only thing I watched on Peacock so far. It comes with my internet. Because Comcast owns, yeah. But, yeah. It's 12:15. I gotta get going. I can't finish my water. So, I'll see you guys Friday. I think it's still gonna be pretty hot on Friday, so it might be a nighttime show on Friday. It's not supposed to cool off till next week. So I'll see you then. And from Monkey Butt and the Big Dog and myself, peace out, Girl Scout. Catch you on the flip side. Good luck to all of you.